Welcome, everybody, to the Boomer Talk podcast. My name is Jordan. You might know me as One Up Analytics. My co host is Taylor, aka Somebody's Gun. And our guest this week is a professional caster, streamer, YouTuber, content creator, everything, MonsterDface. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Yo, gas me up, bro. Gas me up. Let's go.
Dude, before I forget, somebody tweeted at me yesterday asking like how the hell you have the time to do everything that you do, and especially like you have a wife. Do you have a kid?
Sir, 11-year-old Fortnite star.
Yeah. How do you have the time to do what you do?
So the extra time that most people use to like watch Netflix and stuff and, just waste away on Twitter, I instead try to turn it into being proactive on, anything, whether it be like hitting up a sketch versus sitting down and procrastinating or, watching a YouTube video on how to level up my skill in some kind of odd thing that I'm on of the month or whatever. But for what it's worth, it's more of a lifestyle than it is a burden. And for that reason, I just have this workflow, man, that I'm constantly hitting tons and tons of avenues.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. True grinder. Anyway, a lot of grind gonna be coming up in a few days, or is it like a week or something? Season 4 is coming out. What are your guys' expectations? What do you hope? What's your wish list for season 4 in terms of meta changes, map changes, stuff like that? Taylor?
So I've learned at this point, have zero expectations, and you'll never get disappointed with Fortnite. There's rarely a season that goes the way we expect it to. So just have an open mind when these new things come out, and don't look at Twitter for your opinion, because typically it's going to be this season's awful right away, right? Take in what the season's got going on, enjoy it because it's new. This is a game we all play a ton, we enjoy, and get your own opinion as far as what it goes. So that's my expectation, is zero expectations. I'm going to go into it with an open mind, enjoy it, and try and figure out what the new meta is and what all the new stuff they've just thrown at us, because we know that's coming. That's part of what I see for actual Fortnite. I mean, obviously we're getting Marvel coming in. That's going to be a huge piece of it. Who knows how that's actually going to play out, but I'd expect to see a lot more movement on the map is my prediction, that we're going to see the change in this new upcoming season. Hopefully we get pumps back. I would love pumps back, and less snipers, maybe not crash pads, maybe bounce pads would be a little better for the meta. But I don't know. I'm expecting we get a whole new meta. Everything gets blown up as is tradition this chapter. Yeah. What about you guys?
I'll take my predictions on this one, or expectations. For me, yeah, I have a similar approach. I keep it very diplomatic, right? I try to stay in the line, see both sides of the fence. But I do always have high expectations for Epic. They've managed to set a certain standard, a certain bar as far as quality goes. There's maybe been one or two times where it felt like, hey, was this really a new season? You only kind of added, like one thing. Like, what's up with that? As long as they don't pull one of those, I think we're kind of vibing. We're expecting the trios to come around. I mean, we're expecting Epic to do things that are going to be out of the norm. I think they're going to get back in touch with where they left off with the lore and the storyline, really picking up this whole Storm thing, right? So I'm expecting with the new season, maybe some kind of cross collaboration into the story that is Fortnite, and hopefully things ramp up again. But for me, it's about the map, man. I really want the map to hit some big changes, and that way we come in feeling refreshed, especially if we're going to have to commit to it for another 60, 90 days, right? I think the map has to change so that we feel good. We feel happy to play something new and learn it all over again.
What about loot pool? Especially for competitive, what changes do you think we're going to see?
For me, I mean, so the deal with the charged shotgun, I just feel like it's a real epic thing to introduce something, and then for them to feel like, hey, no, we want you guys to kind of stick with this new deal that we've created. That was the problem with the charged shotgun, is they thrust it on us. And it was what it was, right? You had to run with it. Same thing with the combat. When they threw the combat in, it was like, hey, this is your shotgun. This is how this is gonna look for the season, and you had to learn to like the combat. I'm okay with that as long as they change the charge this time again. So it could be combat season again. It could be normal pump season. I mean, it could be double barrel season, whatever. If that's going to be the theme, that's how things are going to go, or we go back to heavies, fine. Then at least that way, now we have a trend, we have a pattern, we know we can feed into that and then take the time to learn it. And of course, throw it in creative, we want that too.
The big one. Yeah, I don't expect them to keep the charge in the game because it's not in creative. To me, that's like a very weird thing that they've done this season is essentially the meta weapon is not in the game. And like most people play with tax in these laggy end games, but you would think changing the entire shotgun meta, you would throw it in the creative mode for people to play. And there's ways to get around it. As we've seen, people in Fortnite are creative. They do their things. I almost expect a spray meta to come back. Some kind of, not drum gun like, maybe minigun comes back, and we start seeing weapons like that go back to. Maybe they throw it up on us. There's the drum shotgun and a pump is the two shotties. What's up, Monster?
I got something to jump on that. Yeah, I have a theory. My theory with squads and like trios is that they intentionally introduce things like the minigun, and they intentionally, for example, for squad season, remove things like the launch pad to force either one engagements and or force material blow through, like in squads, for example. I feel like that's part of the balance. As much as they don't give us too much, balance with competitive and stuff, usually it's like, hey, this is pubs and deal with it in comp. Like, let's make it work. I do feel like certain things are intentional. And they exercise that. Same thing with like grenades, for example. Grenades were taken out of solos, but like we went through an entire like squad season with it because they're like, no, you got to die somehow, right? Like, sorry, but you're gonna have to blow someone up, and or like, hey, you got to make that rotate. Figure it out where your mats, right? This is where the team base, this is where synergy comes into play. Otherwise, it's just Storm Surge. It's just the players have gotten to a skill ceiling where they're too good. They just don't get taken out. So Storm Surge usually forces the hand in those kind of circumstances.
What about map changes? I mean, like, my opinion is there's going to be mythic spots again. Like the whole superhero theme thing just is too perfect for there not to be a mythic spot for each superhero. Do you think any other parts of the map are going to change? I personally, I feel like it's just going to like mostly stay the same other than those mythic spots. This has like been, I think, one of the shortest seasons of all time for Fortnite. So part of me thinks that there isn't going to be like the massive changes we've seen like last season, because they just haven't had enough time to work on that type of thing. What do you guys think?
Not sure. I mean, you would expect them to have been working on this for a while now. If they're partnered for this season with Marvel, there's definitely some people been coding away and working on this for months and months and months. And maybe that's why the past season got pushed back for so long. They might have had season 3 ready, but they wanted to give themselves more time for season 4 to be able to prepare this so they could release it, right? This is the first season that hasn't been extended in, I don't know, 4 seasons maybe. Like, it seems every season's been extended. So that may have all been for the Marvel piece. And I would expect, like, I do expect decently large map changes. Previously, in the last chapter from season to season, the map changes weren't huge. But this season, we've seen much more variation in the changes on the map from season to season. So that I would expect much more map changes, like I said earlier, some kind of movement within the map to be in it.
Yeah, I feel like we're about due for those biomes. That's what made us fall in love with the last season. It was like things really changed quickly. We had places like Shifty Shafts, then we had the desert biome pop up, the ice biome pop up, jungle biome pop up. All of a sudden, this new map has really been lackluster in terms of biome. We're coming out of this summer stretch. We're going to be bending into fall, bending into the winter. And the season's expected, right, to stretch into that as well, right? Because it's going to be a couple months. So if you ask me, yeah, I think we're going to get some drastic changes. Or at the very least, we're gonna get some holes punched in the wall somewhere, right? Things are gonna happen that it's gonna set the stage for this. This is gonna probably blow up and or leave. And let's not forget, this season the map was extended in full, so the actual size of the map is larger. They've done a couple tweaks to Storm Wave 1 in terms of like timing or how large the bubble is, right? We've seen a couple iterations. So if I had to assume, I think we're gonna get some change. If not off the bat, as the story develops, like quickly into it, things are probably gonna ramp up.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Last thing on this topic before we move on, changes to arena / competitive playlists. Are there going to be any?
I mean, look, comp Twitter, all right, FN Comp just tweeted out the little fire symbol, and they were pointing at the leaderboard. I feel like, I mean, Epic knows that there is value there, but I think they're more or less afraid to fully commit to taking on what is, okay, let's try and make something great with this rank system or something like that. I really feel like they thought they had something good, and they did a couple tweaks and they kind of laid it out for us, and then they left it at that. The thing is, you don't want champs to be unachievable, because they do so many open style tournaments, and they're like, you got to be champs, right? So it has to be reasonably achievable if you're like kind of good at the game. But how do you separate kind of good and then like, hey, I'm a pro, bro? Like, this is trash, right? This is pubs, and it really feels like that for them. I don't think you really can. So there's a level of rank will always still be achievable, at least in arena, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. I mean, they're all about everyone being included in the competitive side as well as the casual side. So I don't see that changing, but maybe we do get some kind of actual prize, I want to call it. Like, how we got the pickaxe for the FNCS winners? Maybe the top 10 on the arena leaderboards at the end of the season get something in themselves. And not saying that's a huge thing to grind for, but you guys both know people would be like, I'm getting that pickaxe or the skin, whatever it may be, and would actually put some more emphasis on arena. I don't know long term that throughout the entire season it would make it to where people don't W key like crazy, but initially, as usual, like, arena should be pretty solid. In the beginning of the season, arena is normally pretty solid, and then towards the end, people kind of just start to get W key. I don't think we'll see changes to that, but I'm interested to see how they implement the leaderboard and what they're willing to test with that.
I think I still want to jump on that too. Like, I know Epic, like, let's be honest, they probably have a catalog of like, hey, yeah, these are all the stuff we're just gonna throw into a tournament or something like that. I mean, think about it. People pick up the Switch to go play, to go get that skin. So skins are clearly an easy incentivizer for others to try. Yeah, absolutely. Structure them into what is the arena for sure. Give our rewards. I mean, I think about every other title does it. It's got to be working somewhere, right? Epic hasn't quite used that ploy yet, but for sure, I don't see why they wouldn't want to start, really hammering down and trying to up the quality of arena.
What about you, Jordan? You've been asking the questions. What do you think?
No, yeah, I mean, those are all great ideas. Yeah, the hint from the competitive Twitter account today, definitely. I think there might be something coming. I mean, it would feel weird if it was just kind of like a quick little leaderboard that they were tweeting out, and that was the end of it. Yeah, there definitely needs to be some sort of changes, because it's just not really a competitive mode at current time, which is unfortunate to see. Definitely makes it less entertaining to play, at least from my perspective. But yeah, I mean, like, this is actually a good segue to our next topic, which is like bridging the gap between competitive and casual play. I think like we've seen Epic try to do that a little bit. Like a few days ago, they had the free Fortnite Cup, which had like the little different aspects of eating apples, like that little competition thing, to try to get casual players involved. I know like a lot of people who made content for that tournament, like that content blew the fuck up. because casual players, like, I don't know, that's like, it's not like an untapped market, but casual players are just such a bigger contingent of the player base that, like, when you make casual content, it just performs a lot better. But yeah, like, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on whether they should continue with tournaments like that, like little competitions like that, how, like, other ways that they should be bridging the gap between competitive and casual.
I would love that, to be honest. There's tons of opportunities. And like we just discussed, it doesn't have to be monetary. There's so many different things that they could add to the game, whether it be a pickaxe, a spray, an outfit, that people will want to play for. And, you know, if you don't play competitive, but there's a tournament and you need to play 6 games, let's say, to get an outfit, you're going to go ahead and play the 6 games and get the outfit. And you might catch the little itch for competitive there. You might be like, oh, you know, this is a little different than I'm used to. I kind of like this. Let me try out some more. And there's just like those little things that they could do to help that. One of the things in general has been the broadcast. It gives it to a larger audience that allows more people to see the game played competitively, because typically, unless you're seeking it out, you're not really going to be watching competitive content. So the broadcast on the main Fortnite page, to me, is huge in bridging that gap.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of bridging that Fortnite can do, but the problem is you got to think about how do you leverage your mega social media account and then fairly distribute to a game that is global, you know? So it's not just an NA game. And I know they have different regions and stuff, but when it comes down to like in-game display and stuff like that, you're talking like, how do you really remove the bias that is, how do you, of distributing the content and stuff like that? And then also what draws in the casuals? I think the kind of like the apple eating tournament, like that was definitely fun, right? You're talking about, hey, there's a world where you just do this, don't worry about it. And then there's a world like, hey, you can also like compete, right? It's very silly. I don't personally think they should mesh, not at least consistent or often for any means. But yeah, it's a cool way to kind of get it started. I think what was better is when they introduced contenders tournament, champions tournament, like those kind of things. I think that was a great way to say like, hey, this is going to be a much lower skill tier tourney. And by the way, if you do well here, we're throwing you into champs. So don't think you're going to cheese it, right? So that was cool. I think you can do more of things like that, like bracket it that way. And then, yeah, as long as if they can execute that properly, that's great. Now, when it comes down to putting Fortnite like in the game and all that kind of that stuff is massive. Like the fact that people like around the world are like screenshot like, dude, your head is in Fortnite when I get it, like ridiculous, right? That's a stupid amount of people that can see that kind of stuff. You're talking who knows how much, right? Because that's not even public information, but we can easily say hundreds of thousands of people saw whoever's head was involved, whoever's face was involved in that game during that time, which I think that kind of impression that they can leave, that footprint they can leave is ridiculous. And for that reason, it's a lot of power and they understand that. So they use it, where they can. And I understand why they can't just, or don't decide to go full force, because they have something so massive with so much power.
Yeah. I mean, and you kind of just answered what I was about to ask, but yeah. So it's like one thing to get players a little bit interested in tournaments and a little bit interested in competing through like these free Fortnite tournaments, stuff like that, like contender tournaments. But the other side of the equation is like, how do you get those players, even once they start competing a little bit, how do you get them to like watch the broadcast? Or like even to just like consume competitive content, right? And like the broadcast, obviously, a few months ago we didn't have official broadcasts, now we do, and that's incredible. But how do you get people to be interested in watching that outside of like the core competitive base?
I think what you need to do is involve more entities, more companies, more just third parties, right? When you enable someone like AMD, for example, I'll just throw a brand out there. They have a fan base. They have an esports community. They literally target all their advertising, their following towards gamers, right? You broaden the playing field by a lot. So now you're bringing fandoms in. When you introduce organizations, same deal. And you get like, remember that phase, like Search and Destroy versus 100 Thieves? Like, what do you think that did? That was like, oh, FaZe is doing something for it. I'm going to play in that, right? You're talking opening the playing field, opening the floodgates to these other massive entities that have a player base that you don't have, and or they have this level of fandom that they can, really invoke action out of, right? Because that's the whole thing about influencers, right? Like, people are gonna ride with their influencer. Like, how many people probably signed up for the Mongrel Cup but didn't sign up for the EMAD Cup, and vice versa? So they're like, dude, I like EMAD. I'm gonna go play in his cup if I like him, right? Versus like, hey, no, you know what? I like Mongrel. I don't really know who EMAD is or whatever case, right? And like, people are gonna do that just off of that. So you got to have reason to invoke action out of the community, especially out of the casual players, and you do that through those influencer cups, third party stuff. That Manchester kind of raised the cup deal, right? So I think they understand it, and I think they're doing a good job on that. But now it's like, why is it that those are going unseen? Why is there nothing prepared to build content off of that, right? Why didn't we have someone put together something for the Booga Cup, the Aqua Nyrox Cup? Like, come on, bro. You're talking, these are still major style tournaments, flexible, different formats that the pros endorsed, right? And none of that was captured outside of just low budget, low quality, usual, like, their live stream perspective type stuff. And I mean, I have the resources over at the practice server to do things around this kind of stuff, and we plan on it, right? If we can, get in there early enough and put the resources together. But I feel like, why should I in a world, right? But like, at the same time, it's also like, I want to, right? Like, why can't we work towards that? Like, I think that's great, but why should I have to like go out of my way to do cool stuff like that? I hate that we as a community sometimes have to step up and do cool things. But at the same time, hey, it's what sets us apart. So it is what it is, right? It's just a fine line.
Yeah, it's that balance. They give us so much freedom to do whatever we want, but then at the same time, we're like, but I want some other stuff. Give me some more. Yeah. Nah, that's a good point though. Is even these smaller tournaments, they could put higher up on a pedestal, and I guess they're not small, but non-major series tournaments, they could put higher up on a pedestal and make them be taken or consumed by their audience, not simply just whoever's going to go watch Booga or Mongrel or Benji, whoever's streaming the event and things like that. And I guess the last piece that they could really do is more in-game crossovers between comp and casual. So Levin, I'm stealing this idea from Levin. He actually said, when they do one of those concerts, why can't the concert be like a halftime show or right before one of the FNCS series? So you go from the concert into, okay, now they're broadcasting FNCS. I don't know logistically how that works, but that seems like a perfect way to get people, oh, I'm at the concert, boom, I'm stuck in Party Royale, here's MonsterDface talking about FNCS on my screen.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
I haven't heard Levin pitch that one, but that's dope. I'm stealing that too. Like, no, honestly, right? Like, that's just another way to just get creative and bridge the gap and continue to mold out what could be the future of this game. I think there's a lot of different ways we can flex that kind of stuff. Like, for example, I don't know if like FN Competitive ever even like retweets community tournaments or something like that, but come on, you have an account called Fortnite Competitive. Like, are they pushing DreamHack content, or are they pushing, like, I don't think so, right? They're still doing the Fortnite thing. Like, they're doing their Agents of the Week style content, which I don't even think gets that many shares or whatever, because it's like same thing recycled. It's not a new creative angle at, we're keeping things, innovating here and bringing something that people want to consume, because same stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to push competitive content. I mean, shout out to like, at least Reese Hub got something pushed, but
yeah,
like, think about how up above and beyond that video was, right? Like, you have to go exceptionally outside of the norm to do something where they're like, all right, this is kind of hard to ignore. Let's share that, right? Like, that's great. I get it. They have a quality level, and we're seeing where that quality level is and how, if we want to be involved in it, you have to hit that threshold. But at the same time, like the FN competitive type Twitter, like that kind of stuff should be pushing comp content from the community, like on the regular, in my opinion. Good quality stuff. There's a bunch of influencers that are doing great stuff.
Yeah. Reese put like 80 hours into that specific video, which is like insane. Like, he completely deserves them pushing that content out. But if that's the bar, that's a tough bar to match. in terms of getting them to promote that type of content. And there's a lot of good content out there that doesn't take 80 hours in a week to make. But yeah, I would like to see that happen more. Last thing, this is kind of a little bit unrelated to what we were just talking about, but on this topic, the current state of broadcasts. I would like to hear what Monster has to say about this. I guess like in terms of like server lag and just like I don't know the production. Obviously, like the production is really good, and I've seen improvements on it between like the like little like in between game segments that you do. The just like the actual production value of like the different spectators and like how they're capturing different moments in the game has definitely improved. But there's still some work to go. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's no secret. The client itself needs help. Like it needs a lot of work. What I'll say is that I think putting Fortnite inside of the Party Royale game mode is a big step in showing Epic like, hey, is this the product you want to show people the first ever time what competitive looks like? You know, because this is not the normal game experience when you see someone launch pad and then that error occurs and he's like filming through the map and you're like, wait, what is actually happening here? Like, is that in the game, right? I think it's confusing. And I think that display in its own will be their own like kind of light bulb, like, ding, okay, we've kind of let this linger around too long. Like, are the higher ups finally going to say this is time to like hammer in the resources here? Because if they want this in Party Royale, like we said, you see where Epic's quality bar is. It is very high. So let's all not, lie. Like let's not act like Epic doesn't want to fix this. If it was fixable, it'd probably be done. So like, right, we're talking probably complicated coding well and beyond any of our understanding. And we're talking about something that no other game provides. Archive that you can look back at every freaking moment from tournaments months ago, after map changes, pre-update, like you can go back and watch like squads FNCS or like duos FNCS, like still, like you can go far back down that timeline. We're talking the map is not even the same anymore. You can still see what happened. Like we're talking some seriously cool stuff. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. It's massive. My thoughts and feels, dude, it's hard. Like my job as a caster, I got to sit there and, the burdens on me is even steeper, right? Because I got to like figure out, anticipate, foresee the battle, call it correctly, make it still be immersive for the viewer tuning in. It's not something that's easy. It's not something that, even in the moment you're proud of. Sometimes you're like, damn, man, like I had a great, like, it was so good. And then, something bad went wrong, like, or the servers hiccup in or whatever. Right. So, yeah, we know it's an issue. It's a big issue. I know they know it's definitely an issue. And I feel like with the recent event, with how I feel like the replay client took a step back, they took a step forwards because they were like, okay, how do we fix the map error, the no names popping up? Like what happened there, right? They fixed that. But then what happened in turn was create another error. You created more rubber banding, right? At least in the replay client. So, man, I don't know. I think that balancing must just be ridiculous. And yeah, I'm not smart enough to code it, so I can't help. I respect them for it though, for trying.
Yeah. I was definitely I wanted to ask you, like, how do you touched on it, like, that must be so hard when someone's in the middle of popping off and then you get a 10-second where they're just running into a wall.
Oh.
But you guys did a great job. Like, to be honest, that was
good.
very
And
good.
Bad because, like, for example, I remember it like clearly. We're watching like EU and someone's on the run for like trying to go for first place or something. And long story short, it just started lagging, right? But that 10 seconds I use like as all right, guys, I start focusing, like I start as a commentator, I do my job. I start bringing their focus anywhere else. That's like, take a look at the map. The map has, 5 players right there. There's 30 seconds on the clock. Like this is going to go, you know what I mean? I give people a time like, okay, let's catch up. What's going on here, right? So I use those moments to really piece together the story and set the stakes sometime. And you know what I mean? So it's not completely terrible because there are ways to still use those moments and bring value to those moments, those Like, let's pause, catch you up, set the stage, set the stakes, and then boom, it kicks back in, and you're like back into Spitfire casting play-by-play motion, right? Where there is no more explanations. It's back into the action. So, you get a little bit of everything. But in the perfect world, I mean, the live client tool is so good. That's the crazy part. Because if you use a custom live tool, like the live client that we use on the practice server broadcast and stuff, like just look at the Intel gaming cup that we did. The Intel Elite Series gaming, the cup that we did was fire. We used the live tool. There was no hiccup. There's no rubber band. There's nothing like that. So they have an amazing Spectre client. They don't have a great replay client, which the replay client, when you couple that with how it's, live too, it's like a live replay. Like, it's just, that one needs a lot of work. And that's the biggest one too.
And do you think they could, limit, because that takes up players in the lobby, right? No?
No.
Oh, okay. Can I ask you why they don't use that then?
Well, it's a little different. You got to think about, so if they did it, here's an example. If they did the live client, they just did customs. All right, we know what 100 best players are, right?
Right.
We're just gonna do customs. We're gonna let them play customs. I think the difference is they haven't coded it yet, which I'm assuming this has to be what's coming next, right? But I'm just talking from my own, if I was them perspective. What they would have to do is they'd have to make the results that funnel out of that live game directly or inject them back into the standings. That is whatever that in-game tournament display is. See, the problem is customs is over here, and that in-game tournament display, it's its own like thing that's constantly live updating and reading and all that kind of stuff. So however that's coded, they're not separate. So if they ran a custom, it's not in that coding over there. But I'm sure they can get that information and just like point it over there. Right? And maybe turn off that live bubble that you can follow 5 minutes behind. Like, maybe just turn it off. I think what we need to do is use the live client, put a 2-minute delay on it, the way we would normally do for like our broadcasts, right? Like, let's say the practice server ones I'm referring to. And then, like, I mean, honestly, like, I don't know why Epic hasn't even enforced delays on people's perspectives on their real streams. Yeah. Their streams should absolutely be delayed, because that's how griefing, cheating, drama occurs, right? Like, period. So there's so many layers that if it was me, I'm like, yo, my man, you want to stream that tournament? 2-minute delay, minimum period, don't care. Have his delay synced up with the live delay from the client, and then like deliver something great through the customs hub. Like, yeah, maybe semis or whatever shamble because the replays are in little shambles. But when we get to live day grand finals, it's going to be like, we're going to throw down the best thing possible. That's me, though. So I don't know. I think they just need a little more coding. And that's how I know, like, if I can think of this and we've expressed this stuff to them before, I'm sure like it's got to be right there. We're close. We've been dealing with a lot of we've been dealing with it for a while, but it has to be so close. It has to be there. And when we get it, man, it's going to be a good day for Fortnite competitives. I hope we never look back.
Yeah, and talking about the delay, even from an audience perspective, like if you have players streaming their own gameplay and that's live, and then you have the official broadcast a few minutes behind, like in terms of you want the audience, you want fans to be tweeting about like the games as they're going on and stuff like that. But if you have the official broadcast, I don't know, 5 minutes behind the players who are streaming, then you just have everybody spoiling the results of games for the people watching the official broadcast. So it doesn't really work out for me, right? Because it's just, I don't know. And I've said this before, but like it just takes away a lot of like the interaction that you'd like to have of people watching and like as an audience, as a collective audience on social media, which is another thing that would potentially get people involved or interested in this, is seeing a ton of people talking about it on Twitter. But that's obviously just a lot harder with the way things are currently set up.
It's not a lot harder, though, if you just say, hey, you guys have to use a delay.
Well, yeah.
Or you're at risk of cheating and you're breaking rules here. Like, that is something that they can just enforce. Literally, it's not that hard to say, this is why we're doing it. This makes the most sense. And yeah, it's also for the better of the people playing in the tournament, right? Like, we're setting a you know what I mean? It's a safety measure, honestly. Like, I get it. Like, Boog is willing to risk his entire tourney because the views matter more sometimes. It's just the world we live in. And it is what it is. That's what it comes down to. Because at the end of the day, they're not just in a tournament, right? They're also competing against one another for views and the clout and all that kind of stuff, the impressions, where people land. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you got to give them a 10-minute delay, but I'm saying put them on a couple-minute delay for sure, just for integrity reasons, like out the bat. And then I think, like I said, with the buffer between the reason the stream is delayed, the actual official broadcast is delayed, is because, again, they're waiting for that client to populate and code out, and then they can read through that, right? Like the way everyone else could. That's the whole point. But that would also be completely eliminated if we just went we're going to do this custom route wise. We're going to take that information and then we're going to display it up. Yeah, it may not be like as real time, but shoot, I'd rather have like the perfect experience like viewer wise, and then have those results come in late but accurate, right?
Yeah.
And by late, I mean 1 game late, like game's over. All right, results populate, like,
Yeah. I'm on the opposite end. I don't really care about the delay. For me, that's not an issue. Like, if I want to watch the broadcast and that's all I'm going to be watching, to me, like, it doesn't matter that there's a delay. I do think from a competitive integrity standpoint, yes, we've already seen the issues that come from people streaming without a delay, and even sometimes with one. But yeah, in general, obviously it would help because you could get that hype on Twitter. You could be like hashtag Booga clutch trending or something like that. Competitive tweets out that Booga just clutched a game. You throw it on Twitter. Everyone's talking about it at the same time. And that's kind of back to, the whole beginning of this topic is how do you bridge that gap? Things like that would work out. Definitely.
And I just want to say, like, I love watching the tournament. Like, when I go to watch a tournament, like, I love watching the tournament, like the official cast, the full 360, the camera, like the panning, like show me the map, right? Like, I'm all about that. Like, and I love that they sometimes stream like, like the special kill feed perspective, or back in the day when we had that map only dedicated stream, like those kind of things were awesome. Like, I love that. That stuff is great. Get us all immersed in, get us in that 360 feel, make us feel like we can consume as much Fortnite as we want, so we can see the whole story, so we can get that whole story. The hardest thing about Fortnite is how, even as casters, our job is how do you deliver 100 stories and make it all make sense. New names coming into the fold, old names, or like when people aren't performing, yada yada, tie it all in, set the stage. How you make people invested in the new people that are stepping up, right? Like, it's hard enough already, and it's even harder to do when you have people frustrated because the delay is like ridiculous, right? You're way off, but then not only that experience, right? The viewer experience is not quite there.
Yeah, so let's move on to the final topic. And then if we have time after that, if Monster has time, we'll take a few chat questions. So if you're in chat, you want to ask a question, start asking them now. But for the final topic, let's talk about organizations in competitive Fortnite. Saw some tweets recently from org owners. Kind of like, I don't want to say like they were kind of like just like disappointed about the current state of orgs in comp. There's not a ton of promotion of orgs. It's obviously difficult for them in the first place to turn a profit, because there's really, like, orgs don't really have a big spot in Fortnite compared to other esports, at least. Players kind of just play for themselves. But yeah, so I don't know.
I mean, I kind of disagree. I think the fandom around Fortnite is ridiculous. Like, when people are invested in a player, in an influencer or whatever, like, they kind of go hard. Like, they back those guys. So orgs, to find their value, like, sign the right players. Like, how many orgs are signing like players without doing homework? Like, I'll be seeing people get signed. I'm like, who just got signed? Like, what is he doing? Like, is this guy making content? Like, you chose him over XYZ. Like, look at this hidden gem right here. Like, who's your recruiter, my man? Right? So if your org is struggling in this space, I think it's because you're failing as an org. I don't think it's up to Fortnite to give them a silver spoon. Not at all. I think Fortnite's doing it right. They're investing in the players first. They're giving the players the power. They're giving them the money, allowing them to set their foundations up. And I think the fandom that the players get, I think they rightfully deserve. And if an org snatches that player up and then now they can grow off of that, for example, Ron being signed to NRG is a great example of like hidden gem blowing up. So you can see that shit from a mile away, right? Like his, you know what I mean? His entire atmosphere, the funniness, the blah, blah, blah. And what happened? Like he just went under the radar until he's too big. Now everyone misses out. Like what you could have easily, if you had someone who was doing the right job and picked them up easily. And now what is NRG doing? They're creating great content. They're capitalizing on that. How many orgs are in this space? They don't actually capitalize on their players. Ghost is a great example. You had the most bomb roster, did nothing with it. Where was Bizzle's content? Where was Thwyfo being pushed? All the YouTube videos that he was bombing out, dropping some craziness. He started a whole montage trend. And I can go off. I can go off on mad orgs that don't do enough. And that's just that, right? And I'm speaking from someone who's a hard worker, influencer myself. And I literally live what I preach. If I owned an org and I was doing stuff around that kind of stuff, I'd be going hard to promote and build that kind of stuff. So if your org is failing, it's your fault. Stop making excuses. Step it up, bro, because look at everyone else around you thriving. And if you're not thriving, it's because you're doing it wrong. You're investing in the wrong places and or not pushing the content hard enough. Like, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to get creative.
All right. I guess we see where you stand on this issue. No, but like it's definitely true what you're saying. So like you don't think that Epic should be doing anything different from what they're currently doing in terms of getting orgs more involved in competitive or just in the game in general?
No, I'll use Epic and the Ghost example because that's the perfect example of like they had Aiden, like they literally had the perfect formula. You had your bomb content creator, you had one of the best players in the world, still arguably one of the greatest players on the scene here. And how did that work out? Why did Ghost grow and blow up in the space? Because Epic invested in Aiden. They allowed us to sell Aiden's story. Aiden was on Ghost. In return, or Ghost gets clout, period. But why is it that, pro players get on teams and or orgs grow? It's because the players themselves blow up, right? Like RBK is looking real nice right now because Arab is doing real nice. It's not because RBK is looking nice. No, it's like Arab's like holding that brand up right now. He's killing it. So now other players in RBK start stepping up. Like now you want players that want to come to you. And the better, that's how you guys grow and stuff like that. So like Ghost is the greatest example because they had a whole bunch of players that were great. And then they got the spotlight shined on them because they deserved it. And in turn they grew. And then the org could have like grown massively and never looked back with that. But instead they dropped the ball. I think they really fumbled what could have been the content and just everything they were building there. That's in my opinion. I don't think it's up to Fortnite to silver spoon the org themselves. I think Fortnite does a great job in putting the ball in the player's hand and allowing us to set people up for success individually. And that shines, it funnels straight down into the orgs. It really does. But they need to know what to do with that kind of stuff. When you got that gem in the rough, or you got that person on the rise right now, like you need to know how to capitalize on that.
Yes, I don't necessarily disagree with you from that perspective. Like, orgs don't need to be spoon-fed, right? But what about the other perspective of it, where orgs provide value to players, right? Like, they provide a consistent like income to players who are consistently grinding the game. And if you're not consistently placing like top 10, if you're doing that infrequently or whatever, it's difficult to make a consistent income through Fortnite. So there is value that orgs are providing. Do you think that Epic should do anything to encourage more orgs to get involved in it? Because I don't know, right now it's, if you're not a top player, it's tough to get signed to an org because I don't know, you said, go ahead.
Because the work ethic behind the 99% of these pros is trash. How many people are making content? Like, how do you expect to get signed if you don't give value? Like, you think you're good, so you're valuable? Wrong. Like, it's more valuable the guy who's making content. Like, Arab is a great example. He's good. He's making content, and that guy's valuable. That guy's great. He's doing it right. He's bringing value. He's bringing the work ethic. He's setting a great example, and he's showing that hey, you can thrive in multiple avenues. For example, TSM signing Saf. Why? Saf doesn't even do content, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not grinding as hard as he could be. If I'm gonna sign Saf, I'm signing Saf, and I'm sorry to say it, I'm gonna be like, yo, Saf, your YouTube, we gotta drop 5 videos a month minimal. Like, we're gonna go hard. Like, let's get you to where you should be because your skill speaks for itself. You're a good-looking dude. You're charismatic. You're funny. You got the freaking little hair curl going on, right? You got a following on Twitter. Like, you have people that love you, man. You're not capitalizing on it, right? That's me. So why sign someone who doesn't want to work for it? And then everyone else doesn't want to work for it. You just want to sit there, collect a check, and play Fortnite? That's not how it works, bro. It's not valuable to me, not at all.
For me, the root of this discussion is orgs in every other esport have this idea of here's how I fit in. And Epic Games and Fortnite came in, absolutely just smushed that idea, said, screw whatever you thought. Here's how we're going to do things. And now there's been a few orgs that have adapted to the Fortnite way. And you can't continue to think that same way of, all right, got to sign pro players. The pro players do well. The organization does well. And that's just simply not the way it is.
The difference in these other titles, though, like, this is completely different. They pay the orgs to enter into their league, right? They're like, yo, here's 200,000. Do with it as you please. Get your roster together. Hopefully win some champions, and you continue to monetize from there. Yada yada. So yes, game titles, invest in orgs, yada yada. Epic doesn't do that. Like I said, they put the ball in the players' court. I love that. It's even allowed people like me to not be gate kept out from opportunity because I'm a hard worker. So stuff comes to me all day long, right? Because I'm working for it, and I can be me. I don't need an org. I'm literally bigger than half of most orgs out there. Just my own personal brand, my own personal presence. I profit, I'm sure, 100x more than most orgs out there because I ain't out here struggling, creatively trying to figure it out. I understand how to play this game. I'm doing great things with things like the open scrims and practice server. Like, if I can get sponsors to go host this a tournament, if I can hold these conversations, like, come on, bro, how am I doing this? How can you not figure this out? You probably went to school for this. You have investors backing you. You're still lost in the sauce. You don't know how to execute a proper player signing / put them on some kind of freaking content regimen. Come on, bro. Like, it ain't that hard. It really ain't that hard.
Well,
I know I come with fire on this one because people are just lazy, bro, and they have so much. They have such a blessed opportunity. And when people look back like a year from now, they're gonna be salty and take advantage of, man, what happened to all that Twitter following I had, or what happened to that? You know what I mean? People used to tune into my live streams and you lost it, you fumbled it because you're being lazy today and you think things are just gonna work when it's just not how it is. It's not reality.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely say that all the time too, Taylor and I. Like, if you're a pro player at the top of the game right now and you're not creating content, like you're throwing a bag completely. But I don't know. Like, I feel like I understand that, like, there are definitely a lot of people being lazy about it. But some part of it is just like a lot of these kids are young and they don't even realize the fact that making content is gonna, is gonna be what furthers their career or like prolongs their career in some way. So there's got to be, like, I don't know. There's got to be some amount of, like, guidance in that way.
Yeah, and I think that's the org's job to set an example and set people up for success. I think another good example is, like, let's think about how, like, orgs get backlash for disciplinary or putting discipline towards their players for, like, saying something stupid publicly or something, and then, like, they fall into the trap of, like, oh snap, this hashtag is trending. We gotta be sorry for trying to help our players do right. Like, hell no. Like, no, he messed up, he broke his contract, yada yada. Like, you discipline them, right? You teach them. This is a responsibility. It's a professional organization you're running here. Like, hold yourself to that too. Like, and I'm not gonna throw names out there, but there's been so many people that have done silly things because the community encouraged them to, or they felt pressured to do so. I think one of the biggest ones honestly, I think of two, maybe three teams that have done stuff like this. One of the more recent ones is Merkin. They had something happen. They like step back, and then I think he like paid back or whatever. Like stupid. Like forget that. Absolutely not. Should not listen to social media. Dumb. Right? Forget that. And then like E11 was even worse one. I forgot what Emad said. Something silly, toxic, whatever. Boom. You drop Emad when Emad was easily like one of those like, bro, like he's on the climb. Like people forget Emad was on E11, and Emad was low key like crushing. He was just growing. He was blowing up, playing with 72 hours. Like it was like the peak of Emad before he hit the real mountaintops. Now Emad gets signed easily TSM, and they saw the value in content. TSM does a good job of recognizing, hey, this guy's working hard. He's going to do something. He's going to do content. Let's amplify that, and then let's capitalize on that, right? So like there are a lot of places where like just I don't know where these guys' mind goes sometimes, but like they fall into these like silly little traps, especially when it comes down to social media.
And I guess to wrap this up, there obviously could be conversation. Like everyone's going to ask for conversation between Epic Games and the organizations, but that just doesn't seem to be the way that they handle themselves. They do what they want, and you're either going to be a part of it or you're not. So learn to work within their lines, read between the lines, and thrive. You know, there's some people that have learned how to work this machine. It's not a secret code. It's been out there for a long time. You can figure it out. And like Monster said, a lot of it's just hard work, which it seems like both players and organizations have kind of dropped the ball on. But now we're starting to see like the blueprint's there. It's out there. And teams are starting to understand that as to, okay, I need to produce content around my players, continue to push that, throw that on every different kind of social media possible, blow up their own social media, and really focus on that side as opposed to taking a percentage of winnings or my player's the top 3 player in the world but doesn't do anything like that. We've all realized now is not the way to go.
100%. Monster, do you have a few minutes for chat questions? I know
Absolutely.
you're busy.
No, you. I'm vibing, man. I set this time aside for us.
All right, appreciate it. So yeah, anybody in chat? I might have to scroll up to see if anybody asked questions already. Oh yeah, I think we do. If they continue to split prize pool between PC and console evenly, thoughts on the console prize pool being more spread out to more players? That would incentivize some top players to try on PC instead of dominating console, and also help lower end console players.
Yeah, I think it's a little unfair that high end PC players easily just result back into like jumping back into console to go crush. Lizen's a great example. Lizen went from console to PC, did pretty well. Like he qualifies for the top end on PC, but then like the recent FNCS console mobile platform, same pricing. My man went over there, took third, quick, no problem, boom, got paid. You see what I'm saying? Like that's like there's a clear flaw here. If you're pro, that's like literally one of the best in the world that can hang with the best. He made it to DreamHack Grand Finals. He decides like, nah, I'm gonna take the easier. I'll go collect the bag over here, save money. Yeah, that's it's clearly there. I'm against though that the idea of like platforms shouldn't have a tournament or like whatever. I think they should. I really do think they should. I think the whole like they shouldn't have an opportunity is ridiculous, because that's how we see people like Lizen, Big 60 on PC, and you know just Who Fishy, right? Like all these stars that are just coming out of nowhere that came from console, they swap over, they're that good, and then they show up and they prove that they're that good. People like Aiden come from console all around to PC, like, but it's opportunities like that. So yeah, I think there should be a pricing there for both. I am totally on board with the whole like, yeah, maybe let's reduce it or like spread it, right, and make it so it's a little bit less tempting for the best PC guy to go like sweep up some free cash. Like, come on, you know. But can't argue with that. Like if it's there, they take it, right? Anyone would.
Yeah. I think that's a really good idea. I haven't thought of that or seen it suggested to spread out the console prize pool, because the whole thing is, in my opinion, for console is to get people involved that probably wouldn't, because they would be gate kept by people with $2,000, $3,000 PCs. You know, if you have the ability to compete on your console, Obviously, it's good for the entire scene to allow these people to compete and invest in them competing. But that's probably the best way, in my opinion, or the best suggestion I've seen is just spread it out. So maybe, top 100 on PC get paid, top 1,000 on console get paid. It's the same amount of money, but now you're splitting it over a larger number of people, and you're not having people not smurf, but go play against worse competition. We're seeing the broadcast. We want to see all the top players against one another. So let's find ways to make that happen.
Yeah.
I got the next one if you want. One up.
Yep.
Do you think they'll ever add 5 or 6 person team / competitive modes? Do you think it could work?
So I don't even think squads and trios works. I'll be honest with you guys. There's already a ridiculous problem with trios having Storm Surge well and beyond when there needs to be 30 players left in the lobby. And the fact that you got to do 2,000 damage, what? You know what I mean? It's fundamentally flawed already. The higher base game modes. I'm not really excited for trios this season. I'm not gonna lie. I think duos is where it's at. Duos is a great balance of find yourself a partner, team-based. Those duo fights are lit. Right? A good duo will take a fight in the mid game. They'll clap another duo because they're like, me and you, we got these two guys, right? These fools over here. Let's go take that box, right? But a trio, there's no way you're gonna look at another box and be like, yeah, yo, hey, high five, let's all go do it. No, it's not happening. You're like, yo, play first, play way more smart, way more cautious. Because it's just harder to end a fight as a trio. And let's not get to squads and 5 or 6. You're going way off the rails, my man. I think duos is where we need to cut for the highest end of competitive. I think trios were pushing the boundary, and we already have a lot of flaws in the way it plays out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought trios was going to be the wave going into this season. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm not a huge fan of the current meta, but I definitely don't enjoy trios as much as I did duos.
Hey,
Taylor likes that because he's my duo.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I 100% agree. The mid game fighting is a lot better, a lot easier to follow as well, from an audience perspective in duos. Yeah.
So
I'm gonna disagree with.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna disagree with you both.
Okay.
I think I would like to see it. I don't know if it'll work. I think trios and squads were the best game modes thus far, in my opinion. And I don't think any of the issues had to do with the number of people. Storm Surge is one of the big problems, but Storm Surge has nothing to do with the number of people in a trio, right? That comes regardless of how many people are on a team. And it's a mechanic that really it's synthesized, or it's not part of the natural progression of the game. So for me, I love the game modes because it adds depth. We talked about this last episode. There's so much depth and strategy that comes as you add more and more people. So I love that aspect of the game, and you could start to specialize people within your trio to do certain things and improve, which you can't do as a solo. It's 100% on you. I don't want to say 5 or 6 man teams would work, but I'd love to see it, and I'd love to actually get a shot at it. Let's say a month worth of cash cups to see if that works.
So like I said, for me, I'm definitely on board duos, but trios is where for me we're already drawing a line where the game itself, it just doesn't work right now. And I think it's because yes, it's probably a lot more fun to play. Yes, the whole nerdy side of it where you get to be really spread out the loot pool, really capitalize how do we work with all this material and make it work, right? And hold that height. And yes, the most dominant, the most skillful prevail consistently a little bit more as we get some more of those factors as they come into play. But I think where the game is, with the map and all that kind of stuff, to me, it doesn't make sense. I feel like the map would have to be bigger so someone can feel like I can take this fight without shots being heard from every direction, just being murdered for just even attempting to be bullish. I think we see way more action in solos and duos come those mid and early in fights because they can, right? They just can. It's just the games is just designed a little bit easier to take those battles. Where there's something about trios maybe I don't have the English words to explain it correctly right now, but yeah, no, I feel like once we start getting to that trio game mode and above, it just gets weird. The engagements are a lot harder to not, and even as a spectator, as a caster, it's a lot harder to track, keep follow of, and get yourself immersed into. Versus where I believe duos is just beautiful. Like it just makes it a lot of sense. Like to me, just enough chaos, just easy enough to follow. Clutch factors there, and you get that chemistry between you and someone else. You get the team based mode, depth side of it, right? You do still get to roll out, between you and your co-partner and play a certain way. And yeah, we see styles shine, right? And I think in duos, it's manageable in the current state of Fortnite, where the game is size wise, loophole wise, and PvP wise. Where once we go beyond that, maybe it's just not enough tools in the game right now to like set up for trio fights and make it make sense to me right now.
It's a fair shake. The map's way too flat compared to, there's not the arenas like we saw on the previous map where you could have your own kind of battle area and then move on without getting completely third party.
Yep.
All right. Next one. Well, I guess this is 100% for Monster. How do you see Prattcord growing and making moves in this next season?
We're working on one of our biggest projects right now. Literally, like when I say big, I get this approved, budget wise, funding wise, yada yada, we kind of got that down pack. It's just a matter of whether or not we can get the higher ups to say, yeah, you know what, we want to sanction this, because after a certain while, it's not in our hands. It's more like, is Epic okay with these kind of things happening from third party organizers and stuff like that? For example, let's just look at DreamHack, right? DreamHack didn't just say, hey, I got 250,000. I'm doing this. Boom. Whole year. Done. Right? No, absolutely not. Epic was like, there's a whole complex layer that goes well and beyond that. So for practice server, one, we're working on obviously structuring things out. So we continue to just ultimately want to keep bringing a place for everyone to practice and play and, still develop, right? I think there's so much importance to having that entry level gateway to competitive, and the best place to do is like open scrims and stuff like that, which we've done a fairly good job rebranding this year already. I think everyone knows what the open scrims, community is. And yeah, it comes with its complications because of how large the, server is and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to what the practice server is trying to do, we're trying to continue to enhance that entire thing and just keep bringing bigger and better quality projects out of, and be able to, again, showcase that, right? We have something that no one else has, and it's the ability to actually produce high quality content around these communities that we've built.
All right, cool. I guess we'll do two more. One of these I think is kind of an obvious one, but do you think Epic could find a way to fix, in this example, they're saying EU practice, by having more settings to work with, such as, starting the game at X zone or with X amount of people? I think that'd be huge. Having more custom ability is
100%.
Just a huge piece.
100%. I think that can happen in creative. I think they need a better way to server list in creative. Like, I should be able to see a list of just dope stuff that people are doing and just be like, yeah, that looks crazy cool, click, right? Like that should be a thing, period. Every other game has just servers listed from popularity, whatever. We have no filters to get to the hundreds of thousands of content creators that are out there. Like, you just don't know how to get to any of it unless it's featured. It's like, where's the list at? Like, where's the place where you can browse descriptions and really figure out what community fits you, what you want to do, your interest? I think that's something that needs to happen. And then as far as customs, 2,000,000%. Like, why can't we like 50 players max? Boom, yo, no shotguns. Boom, like we should be able to do that. We should have been able to do that a long time ago. The whole idea of customs and give us the power, man, to do some cool stuff, enables so much content for creators and so much fun for the comp scene and just for everyone in general. Like, imagine if we can run a shotgun only tournament or turn off the limit of double pump delay or whatever. Like, right? Like, we will have some amazing tournaments, like just great stuff. Hardcore mode tournaments, the opposite of that, right? Everyone has shield off jump. Like, we could really experiment. We could do some great things, but we can't. Let us do it, Epic.
All right. Last one. Unless you have anything, Jordan.
Nope. Go
All
ahead.
right, cool. Are they balancing mythic items correctly, or are they getting worse?
I think this season. So how about we ask this? Do you think last season's grappler drum gun was worse than this season's shockwave launcher kit's shotgun? I think last season was way worse. Drum gun jumping in your box because you had someone killing you mid game, early game, late game, didn't matter when. It was destroying your chances at any stage in the game. Whereas the shockwave launcher, it only destroys your chances in end game, and half the people don't even know how to play with it. They lose it somehow. Yeah, right? Like somehow. How did you lose shockwave launcher? I don't know. In like zone 6 or whatever, but you know what I mean? So people don't know how to, well, forget that. What the people don't know how to use it. Forget that part. But like it only really destroys your game at the end game. So I think this wave of mythic weapons was a lot better than the last waves. My opinion. And then Infinity Blade was the start of it, which was the worst. It was like an instant kill / heal you / rotate. So
Plus
I think
more
it has
HP.
Yeah, so it has Mythic has gradually gotten better, technically, in my opinion, if you look at all the stages. Not that it's anywhere near where it should be or near should be in competitive, because I don't think that's okay at all.
Jordan?
Yeah, and I don't know. In some ways it's gotten better. In some ways it's gotten worse. I think like they should definitely go towards the route of mythic, like consumables and like I want to say specialty items, but like when I say specialty items, I don't mean the launcher, the shockwave launcher. I mean like the mythic chug jug. I think that's like a great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's like a perfect balance of it definitely is super valuable, but it's not like ending other people's games and stuff like that. So if they go in like that direction, definitely the grappler with the glider redeploy is a great tweak to last season's grappler. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that the drum gun and grappler last season was worse. I might have to disagree there, only because I think part of the drum gun issue was aim assist. Maybe it wouldn't be as gruesome as it was last season if the aim assist was where it is right now.
I don't know. I think if right now we had Sky's assault rifle minus his drum gun from last season, the way they were in this current game, like with this shockwave, like people like you, it'd just be stupid. Like I think that drum gun, even aim assist aside, like you had PC players picking it up and just bullying, like too. Like let's not forget that. Like it was controller dominant because you had like the illest 30 bomb, right? Like we have all the bad memories of like Wavy Jacob, drum gun, he went dumb with it, right? Or like Epic Whale going crazy, he's not even using a shotgun. But like people forget like when Benji Fishy picked it up and then dropped like a 16 bomb or something, it was like that was as equally as dumb because like how do you do that, right? So I think aim assist clouds their judgment a little bit on that one, but like that weapon in general was just ridiculous. But I am with you. I think Infinite Chug Jug, amazing. Like make it infinite, like make a legendary version of the Banished Bazooka. Like we could do those kind of things where they just like heal you, right? Like this one's gonna heal your shield too. Boom, boom, boom. Like that would be nuts, right? Like these kind of utility style mythic ones. Put that in team-based game modes. Now we're playing to that whole like support role or like Superman role, right? This guy has a lot of durability, right? It makes him really great. I think that stuff is kind of great.
So for me, going back to the original question, 2 out of the 3 places I think are fairly balanced. And I think almost all of the places last time were super OP. Because even in you got to think duos, the Boombo Heavy Snipe didn't catch on as fast as it probably should have, but that thing was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, they were all nuts. The entire what are you talking about? The whole last season was ridiculous. I forgot. That minigun? Come on, bro. Bruce's minigun was nasty.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So you think
the
if
whole last season was
we've gotten to a place where there's one OP mythic item place.
Yeah.
But last season it was the shark was ridiculous.
It was all of them.
Yeah, the minigun was ridiculous. Drum gun grappler was ridiculous, and the worst spot was the boombo. So
And
we are getting better. Like,
way worse, right? Like how bad is worse? Like that was still like pretty good. Like I think it's a silent explosion that you can hit from so far and rotates and stuff. So yeah, this season mythics were a lot better. They did it, and they also introduced something awesome, which was the Chug Jug Infinite. No one complains about Sky. Was it Ocean's Burst
The
assault
AUG.
rifle?
Yeah.
Yeah, no one complains about that. Like it's all right, it's whatever. And then you got to think about the other issue this season. Why put the Shockwave in the shotgun at the deceived drop spot? Like what? Like now, not only like you got a shotgun that's mythic and the utility to leave with it. Like the balance, man. Come on, it was way off this season for that drop spot.
All right, guys. I think that's all we got.
Yeah, all right. I'll wrap it up then. Thank you, Monster, again for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, I really appreciate you joining this episode. Follow Monster on Twitter at MonsterDface. If you want to plug your socials, plug your anything you want, go ahead.
Yeah, at MonsterDface on all social media, guys. Y'all already know. Content king, bro. Dropping it. If you think you want to find something, I don't care what kind of content it is. Search my name behind it. You'll find it. I'm working in every avenue, man. So again, and shout out to you guys, man. Thanks for inviting me on. Love talking Fortnite, and can't wait to do this again.
Thanks, Monster.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.